Hey, what's up, guys? I want to do a video today on secret codes that we find all throughout existence, even inside of our own bodies. So I'm gonna start out by talking about DNA and how DNA is a language, in a sense. It uses nucleotide bases, ATCG, to form that's its language, or that's its alphabet, if you will, and it uses these nucleotide bases to make a word, if you will, and and um, these different nucleotide bases rearranged in different orders will give you a different word. And what I mean by word is a different function. Every bit of every living creature is made up of this DNA. Um, and and evolutionists want you to believe that this DNA somehow rewrote itself to give us new functions. But my argument is that simply does not happen. DNA does rearrange itself, and we do lose information in a DNA code, but we never gain information to a DNA code. That simply does not happen, and it never has happened. We've never observed that, and that is what evolution is really all about: is gaining new information to become a more evolved creature. I was arguing with a buddy of mine, a good buddy of mine, and he was saying it's not new information. It's the same nucleotide bases, just rearranged differently, but it is new information. I mean, that's like saying guitar and table aren't two different things that do two different things. They're made up of the same alphabet. You know, you use the English language. Well, yeah, but they're two different words. They do two different completely things. Different functions. So I believe that's that is maybe the strongest point against evolution is where is this new information coming from? Also, just as a little more evidence against evolution, when we look at the scientific laws of nature and of the universe, there's no explanation for how we got these laws. There's no explanation for why don't these laws evolve? Everything else does, according to your worldview. So why don't these laws of nature evolve? You know, we count on the laws of nature not evolving all the time. You know, I'm counting on gravity being a constant, and I'm not gonna weigh 50 extra pounds tomorrow. You know, um, you could also look at harmonic sequences and just disprove evolution completely. But that's not what I'm here for today. But while I'm on the topic, uh, I like this quote from the Atheist Delusion movie. We're spinning 1,000 miles an hour in space. The Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and the sun is sending rays 93 million miles, and it's just warm enough to ripen your tomatoes. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Um, so while I'm on the topic of science, I'm going to kind of go over to mathematics in a minute here. But while I'm on the topic of science, I want to talk about the Big Bang Theory. I personally, I don't know too awful much about the Big Bang Theory, so I'm not going to make a claim one way or the other. That's something I got to look into a little more. But I do know they got one thing right about the Big Bang Theory. But I wouldn't use the word Big Bang. I would use the word God said. You know, we live in a universe. You know what universe means? Uni means one. Verse means a spoken statement. So we live in one spoken statement. It kind of explains why we might be getting these vibrations in space that they're believing is left over from the Big Bang? I think it's because we're living out God's spoken sentence right now. Everything that we see, everything that is here, is a product of God's word. It's pretty incredible. But moving back to the topic of secret codes that we find throughout nature, we can look at the golden mean ratio. Now, this is a pretty incredible thing, and I am eventually going to do a whole video just on this, explaining this a little further for those of you who don't know what it is. But I'll explain it real quick in layman's terms. So, people call the golden mean ratio God's number. And what it is, it's the number 1.61803. Doesn't sound too special, right? Well, everything in nature follows this golden mean ratio. It's kind of interesting. And it's pretty crazy to see the Fibonacci sequence, which is really just a fractal sequence in mathematics. Fractal meaning a never-ending pattern. And it also follows the golden mean ratio. Interestingly enough, the only two dimensions ever given by God in the Bible, Noah's Ark and the Ark of the Covenant, follow this golden mean ratio. And according to a survey taken in South Korea, the dimensions for Noah's Ark are the greatest dimensions for a ship ever. You compare it to modern designs for a ship, and it's a better design to stay afloat. Now, other ships are meant to project forward and go places. The Ark just had to stay afloat. So that's interesting that it follows this golden mean ratio that seems to be somehow God's number or God's ratio of the order of things. The golden mean ratio is pleasant to the eye. That's why we find certain people attractive. Is because their facial features follow the golden mean ratio more closely. Obviously, that's opinionated, but it's also pleasant to the ear. The major scale in music, the vibrations of the major scale in music follow this golden mean ratio. It's pretty incredible. Moving on to the Mandelbrot set. Now, this is something that I don't even fully understand. It's something for mathematicians. So I'm not going to get into it. It would take me a half an hour to babble on and try to explain it, and I still wouldn't explain it. So if I were you, I'd just look it up yourself. The Mandelbrot set, it's an amazing thing. It's basically this another fractal, never-ending pattern mathematic equation that when you graph it, it paints this beautiful picture. I can't even explain to you. You'd have to look it up, and it takes computers to graph it for us because it's so in depth. It's just incredible. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing it up because it's incredible to see these fractal patterns, these never-ending patterns, these eternal patterns are used throughout nature as well as mathematics. So why do we have these never-ending patterns? I mean, you look at a snowflake, and it's a six-fold symmetry. You zoom into a snowflake, six-fold symmetry in the middle of that. Zoom in, six-fold symmetry in the middle of that. And you can just keep going forever because it's never-ending. Which shows us that, I mean, just everything follows this pattern. And it leads us to ask questions like, well, where do the laws of mathematics come from? Just like I was talking about the laws of science, where do they come from? Who put that there? Why don't they evolve? You know? Um, well, when we really look at it and you get down to it, we didn't create math. No, no, no. Math was here before humans. If you're an evolutionist, it was here long before humans. You know, the planets were spinning in mathematical patterns before man got here just fine. So we didn't create math. We discovered math. Okay. Now, so where did math come from? Well, the atheist would tell you it's a product of the universe. Well, this doesn't really make sense either. Why? Because mathematics goes beyond our physical universe. Mathematics is infinite. Mathematics uses infinity all the time in calculus. Mathematics is beyond our three-dimensional world. You can look at a four-dimensional figure, a hypersphere or a four-dimensional sphere. You can look at that in mathematics, and it has meaning, but it's just not applicable to our physical world because it's beyond our physical world. So, if math is beyond our physical world, it clearly it's not a product of our world. It's not a product of the universe. It's beyond the universe. The only answer here is mathematics must be the way God thinks about numbers. There has to be intelligent design here. It simply does not make sense in a naturalist perspective and point of view. It does not make sense. More thoughts that get us thinking about intelligent design is mathematics is conceptual. It's a concept. It requires a mind to understand 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's a concept that requires a mind to be present, if that makes sense. And so we know mathematics is conceptual, but we also know mathematics was here before man. So what does that tell you? You put those two things together. What does that tell you? The only explanation is intelligent design. That's it. It doesn't make sense in a naturalist perspective, and I'll prove it to you. Okay? This is a quote from a secular scientist, Dr. Eugene Wigner. Okay, this is a secular person. This is not a creationist. He says, in his book, The Unreasonable Effectiveness of Mathematics in Natural Sciences. So, he says, it is difficult to avoid the impression that a miracle confronts us here. Once again, this is not a Christian. This is a secular scientist. Or the two miracles of the existence of laws, number one, the existence of laws of nature, and of humans' mind's capacity to divine them. So he's saying we're looking at two miracles right in front of our eyes. He then goes on to say, the miracle of the appropriateness of the language of mathematics for the formulation of laws of physics is a wonderful gift which we neither understand nor deserve. So in other words, he's saying, why does a physical universe, a physical universe that's much bigger than us, why would that obey and follow conceptual laws? Laws that are a concept. It relates to the physical world. How? Why? And in fact, he says it's a miracle that we neither understand nor deserve. We don't deserve it. It's pretty crazy that that's coming from a secular worldview. I just don't understand why people are too stubborn to realize it and understand this is an act of an intelligent design. There's no other explanation. So anyways, I'll leave you with that. Thanks for watching, guys.